And our next main topic here today comes to us from one of our viewers, Anant Sriram, who writes, "Hey, John, longtime fan. Thank you so much, Anant. I was flipping through my news feed when I noticed an article from IO9 saying that the new Doug Liman movie, Chaos Walking, is supposedly unreleasable. I remember reading about it a while back and was intrigued by the casting of Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland and loved Liman's work in Edge of Tomorrow. Curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks." Yeah, this was a movie, Chaos Walking, that was supposed to come out, I believe, in March. It was supposed to come out in March. Now, I had then gotten word from a source inside the studio that said, this is going back earlier in this year, saying that, oh no, this movie's not releasing in March. And oh no, this movie is most likely not releasing in 2019 at all. And that is back. This is back in January, I believe, that I first heard word that this movie was an absolute train wreck. An absolute train wreck.
Wow.
The studio hated it. Almost everyone involved hated it. It was so bad they knew they had to completely rework it. However, they had major problems. Tom Holland was booked. Daisy Ridley is incredibly busy right now. She was booked, and there was just no way it was going to happen. Now, I honestly thought there was a chance here that we were going to hear that Lionsgate, which does not have the same coffers that a Universal does or that a Disney does, and they've already spent over $100 million on this picture. I'm not kidding. I'm usually the guy who says, look, finish the film because you got to recoup some of the losses. But I was actually starting to think they might just give up on this film. They might just trash it and give up on it and say, well, this would take it as a loss and move on. But they are currently right now, reshooting a lot. They are currently now Doug Liman, Tom Holland, no word on Daisy Ridley yet, but they are in the midst of reshooting it to try to make it quote unquote releasable, which is really too bad. Now, for those of you,
we're trying to make this just fine right now.
For those who don't know anything about it, this is the basic idea of what Chaos Walking is. Chaos Walking centers around a young man named Todd Hewitt who lives on an Earth-like colony planet where almost all women were killed off by a virus. Sounds a little bit like Y: The Last Man. Anyway, and the remaining men are plagued by a condition called the noise, where they can hear each other's thoughts played out in a series of images, words, and sounds. As the corrupt mayor of the colony tries to use this power to wipe out the indigenous alien race, now it's sounding a little bit like Avatar, Todd comes across a woman named Viola, played by Ridley, I almost said Ridley Scott, played by Daisy Ridley, who may hold the clue to saving everyone. Rob, let's start with you on this. Have you heard anything else or knew about this? I mean, at this point, do you think maybe they should just call it a day and fold it up, or do you think they're making the wise decision to keep motoring forward?
It's rough. I mean, if you've got, look, Doug Liman is a renowned director. He's a little hit and miss when it comes to the sci-fi world, but I loved Edge of Tomorrow. Hell, I loved Swingers. You know, he did Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He did the Firstborn film. I look at this and I just wonder, how does a disaster like this happen? I just don't understand. Like, executives watch, or they're supposed to watch dailies every day. I don't know how this could get to this point. And didn't Charlie Kaufman, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and
yep.
He wrote the script, which, I mean, I'm a huge Charlie Kaufman fan, even though he's a little off the wall. I just don't know how it happened. And if I don't know how do you make an unreleasable movie, like Greg had said, okay? Yeah. And then you're going to spend how many millions of dollars marketing it to hopefully recoup your money? They've probably put I don't even know what the budget is, but I'm sure it's deep into the five figures. I mean, is it 60 million, 70 million, 80 million? It could be, I don't know, dude.
They've already spent north of $100 million on this. And I don't know, Greg, is it just from a fan's? Well, obviously we're all on the outside looking in. We are not in the walls of Lionsgate right now, privy to all the conversations. But from where you're sitting, as as an industry analyst, as a film fan, where do you think this thing's at right now? How are you feeling about this?
I find this to be one of the weirdest stories ever because so many of every report I'm hearing are from, usually when I hear a movie's bad, is from test screenings. And it seems like all the reports are coming from people who work within Lionsgate, who are like, this movie is not good, guys. And even like the CEO did come out saying we wouldn't be spending more money on it and reshooting it if we didn't think it could work. it's a risky decision. And I know that, Robert brought up a lot of Doug Liman films that are pretty great. Edge of Tomorrow was my favorite film that came out that year. I think there's I think there's two negatives here of in terms of with Doug Liman doing franchise work, because Edge of Tomorrow I don't think was expected to be a franchise because it was based off one graphic novel, and he did the movie Jumper, which was obviously trying to do cinematic world building, really set up a franchise hardcore, and that movie did not do. I personally enjoyed it for how cheesy it was, but I know it's not a great film.
Be careful. I was in Jumper, so be very, very careful.
I think Jumper was his best movie. It was a great film.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
So, he did Jumper, and I also think that if you're going to work with a screenwriter, because I think Doug Liman makes just great, entertaining films, but if you're going to work with a screenwriter like Charlie Kaufman, you need to have a director who can really work with a Charlie Kaufman screenplay. And I don't think the idea of Doug Liman and Charlie Kaufman, those two, the types of sensibilities of those guys, I just don't feel like mesh well together, because one is very much about just an entertaining film. The other one could be very weird and strange. And I can't imagine that mesh working. I would like to see this film do well, but I think Lionsgate needs a hit on their hands. I mean, they had to can their Divergent series, which was a young adult adaptation. Hellboy wasn't a hit. I feel like they're just
at all.
No, not at all in any capacity. So I think they're on the freak out side of things. If anything, Disney's going to be purchasing them before Sony.
All right, guys. Well, listen, what do you think about all this news? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know. Are you as interested in this like you're interested in watching a train wreck? Are you interested in this? Does it intrigue? I don't know. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.